Rome. The name alone conjures images of power, empire, and civilization. It is a name that has echoed through the corridors of history, leaving an indelible mark on the world. From humble huts on a muddy riverbank, it rose to dominate the Mediterranean world. What began as a small settlement by the Tiber River grew into a colossal empire that would shape the course of human history. But Rome's story begins not with certainty but with myth, a tale of twins, a she-wolf, and a city born in blood. The legend of Romulus and Remus, raised by a she-wolf, is a story of survival and destiny. The Romans believed they were descended from heroes, especially the Trojan Aeneas, giving them a sense of destiny. This connection to the ancient heroes of Troy provided a divine legitimacy to their rule and ambitions. Their foundation myth was no bedtime story. It was a reflection of their character, strength, piety, and brutality. These qualities were not just admired but were seen as essential for the survival and expansion of their city. Rome's birth was marked by conflict, a fight between brothers resolved by the sword. Romulus's act of killing Remus was a harbinger of the internal and external conflicts that would define Rome's history. This act of fratricide set the tone for a city that would always struggle, both against enemies and itself. The internal strife and civil wars that plagued Rome were as much a part of its story as its conquests and triumphs. The violence of its origins became a shadow over Rome's long, bloody history. From the Punic Wars to the gladiatorial combats, violence was a constant companion to the Roman state. To understand Rome, we must first understand the powerful, dramatic, and violent story of its birth. The ruins and relics of Rome are not just stones and artifacts, they are the echoes of a tumultuous past. Here, myth and reality blend, shaping the Roman identity and the empire to come. The legends and the historical truths together create the tapestry of Rome's legacy, a city forged in blood and legend. Rome's most famous origin story begins with betrayal and fear. It is a tale woven with ambition, divine intervention, and the struggle for power, a story that would shape the destiny of an empire for centuries to come. In the ancient city of Alba Longa, King Romulus seized the throne from his own brother Numitor, casting a shadow over the royal family. Driven by paranoia and a desire to secure his rule, Romulus sought to eliminate any threat to his power. He forced his niece, Rhea Silvia, to become a Vestal Virgin, condemning her to a life of chastity and isolation, hoping to prevent her from bearing children who might challenge him. But fate had other plans. The god Mars, moved by Rhea Silvia's plight, visited her in secret, and through this divine encounter she gave birth to twin sons, Romulus and Remus, children destined to change the world. Fearing the wrath of Romulus, Rhea Silvia's newborns were taken from her. Ordered to be drowned, the helpless twins were set adrift on the wild, unpredictable waters of the Tiber River, their fate seemingly sealed. Yet, against all odds, the river carried them safely to the riverbank, where a she-wolf discovered the crying infants. With a mother's instinct, she nursed and protected them, sheltering them in her den beneath the Palatine Hill. Soon after, a humble shepherd named Faustulus found the twins. He and his wife, Acca Larentia, took them in, raising Romulus and Remus as their own sons, teaching them the ways of the land and the strength of brotherhood. As the boys grew into young men, their courage and leadership became legendary among the local shepherds. They gathered followers, standing up for the oppressed and challenging injustice wherever they found it. Eventually, the truth of their birth was revealed. Learning of their royal heritage, Romulus and Remus led a daring revolt, storming the palace and overthrowing the tyrant Romulus. Their victory restored their grandfather Numitor to his rightful place on the throne, bringing hope and justice back to Alba Longa. But the twins were not content to simply inherit a kingdom. Inspired by their miraculous survival, they set out to found a new city on the very ground where they had been saved, determined to create a legacy of their own. However, a fierce argument soon erupted between them. Romulus favored the Palatine Hill, while Remus insisted on the Aventine. Their visions for the future clashed, and neither would yield. Seeking guidance, they turned to the gods for a sign. Remus saw 6 vultures, but Romulus saw 12. Each brother claimed the gods had chosen him, and their rivalry only grew more intense. The dispute deepened, their bond as brothers strained to the breaking point. Pride and destiny collided, and the city's fate hung in the balance. The stage was set for a fateful confrontation, one that would decide not only the future of the twins, but the very birth of Rome itself. In the end, the destiny of Rome would be decided by blood, forever entwining the city's origins with sacrifice, ambition, and the unbreakable bond and rivalry of 2 brothers. The quarrel between Romulus and Remus, twin brothers destined for greatness, escalated beyond mere rivalry. What began as a dispute over the future of their new city soon turned deadly, as pride and ambition clouded their judgment. Romulus, convinced that the gods favored him, took up his staff and began to mark the sacred boundaries of his city on the Palatine Hill. He envisioned a city that would one day rule the world, and every step he took was filled with purpose and destiny. Remus, however, could not accept his brother's claim. In a bold act of defiance, he leapt over the newly drawn line, mocking Romulus and the sacred ritual. This was not just a brotherly jest, it was a grave insult, challenging the very foundation of Romulus's authority. Enraged beyond reason, Romulus struck down Remus, sealing his fate and the fate of the city. As he stood over his fallen brother, he declared, "So shall it be for all who leap my walls." The first blood of Rome was that of a brother. Thus, in 753 BC, Rome was founded, its birth forever marked by fratricide. The city's earliest days were shadowed by tragedy, a reminder that greatness often comes at a terrible cost. Yet Romulus soon faced a daunting challenge. His new city was filled with men, adventurers, exiles, and fugitives, but there were no women to ensure Rome's future. Without families, the city could not survive. Romulus declared Rome a sanctuary, welcoming all who sought refuge, no matter their past. But when he asked neighboring tribes for their daughters in marriage, he was met with scorn and rejection. The city remained isolated, its people desperate for hope. Desperate, Romulus devised a bold and infamous plan. During a grand festival, the Romans seized the women of the Sabine tribe, an act that would echo through history as the rape of the Sabine women. It was a moment of chaos and heartbreak. War erupted between the Romans and the Sabines, but in a remarkable turn, the abducted women themselves intervened. They stood bravely between fathers and husbands, pleading for peace and unity, and their courage brought an end to the conflict. Through violence, cunning, and the hope for reconciliation, Rome's foundation was laid. The city's origins were forged in blood and ambition, but also in the promise of a new beginning for all who called it home. After Romulus vanished, the Romans chose Numa Pompilius, a wise Sabine, as king. Numa brought peace, order, and religion, founding priestly colleges and reforming the calendar. He built the Temple of Janus, whose doors stayed closed in his peaceful reign. Numa transformed Rome from a city of warriors into a society of laws and rituals. After Numa, Tullus Hostilius took the throne, a return to war and conquest. Tullus fought Alba Longa, settling the conflict with a duel between the Horatii and Curiatii brothers. Rome's champion triumphed, and Alba Longa's people were absorbed into Rome. Tullus's reign was marked by constant warfare, cementing Rome's reputation as a military power. The city now balanced piety and aggression, ready for further growth. Seeking balance, Rome chose Ancus Marcius, Numa's grandson, as king. Ancus revived religious traditions but proved a capable warrior, expanding Rome's territory. He built the first bridge over the Tiber and founded Ostia, securing Rome's access to the sea. Ancus showed Rome could be both pious and strong. Next came Lucius Tarquinius Priscus, an ambitious Etruscan immigrant. Tarquinius used his wealth and cunning to become king, ushering in Etruscan influence. He transformed Rome with grand projects, the Forum, Circus Maximus, and the first triumphal parades. Tarquinius's reign marked Rome's evolution from village to city. Etruscan engineering and ambition set Rome on a new path. The city was now a true urban center, poised for greatness. Servius Tullius, Rome's sixth king, rose from slavery to the throne. Marked by a divine omen, he reformed Rome, conducting the first census and reorganizing society by wealth. He built the Servian Wall, fortifying the city. But his reign ended in betrayal. His daughter Tullia and her husband Tarquinius murdered him. Tarquinius Superbus seized power, ruling as a tyrant. He ignored the Senate, executed rivals, and forced the people into labor for his grand projects. The Temple of Jupiter and the Cloaca Maxima were built, but at great human cost. Tarquinius's cruelty and arrogance made him despised. The people's patience was wearing thin. The age of kings was nearing its end. Tarquin the Proud's tyranny reached its breaking point through his son, Sextus. Sextus's crime against Lucretia, a noblewoman, shocked Rome. Lucretia's suicide after demanding vengeance became the catalyst for revolution. Lucius Junius Brutus, inspired by her sacrifice, led the people in revolt. He swore never to allow a king in Rome again. The people, enraged by tyranny and injustice, exiled Tarquin and his family. The monarchy was abolished. Rome's age of kings ended not with glory but with outrage and tragedy. The Republic was born from the ashes of a crime. Rome would never be ruled by a king again. With the monarchy gone, Rome faced a new challenge: how to govern itself. Led by Brutus, the Romans created the Republic, power now held by two annually elected consuls. The consuls could veto each other, preventing tyranny. The Senate gained influence, guiding the state with experience and tradition. But the Republic was no democracy. Patricians held most power, while plebeians had little say. This inequality sparked the conflict of the orders, as plebeians demanded rights and legal protections. The struggle for equality would define the early Republic. The Republic was a bold experiment, imperfect, but revolutionary. Rome's journey toward justice and stability had only just begun. The city was now a republic, but its greatest challenges lay ahead. The Republic's birth brought immediate danger. Tarquin sought help from Etruscan king Lars Porsena, who marched on Rome. Rome's survival depended on legendary heroism: Horatius at the bridge, Mucius Scevola's defiance. These stories inspired Romans to defend their freedom at any cost. Even after repelling the kings, Rome faced constant warfare with neighboring tribes. The citizen soldiers fought grueling wars, forging the Roman legion's discipline and resilience. Rome's character was shaped in these fires: ruthless, determined, and unbreakable. The Republic's early struggles were just the beginning. Soon, Rome would face new enemies and greater wars, including the mighty Carthage. The path from muddy riverbank to empire was only beginning.